Yo, what is up, USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, YouTuber, host of the most misunderstood lonely nomad, the man who holds the back doors of the Q5 and N24 buses, unstoppable independent podcaster, and of course, Queens, New York native of Laurelton, Queens, New York. And you're rocking and hanging out with me on the 65th episode of Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast, the sports platform edition of the show, where we talk about topics in baseball, basketball, football, you just name it. We're live and direct from StreamYard alongside with YouTube, and aside of myself is the Instagram live feed of the Sports Podcast Show page on Instagram. Make sure you turn on your notifications so you can be notified on when I'll be on Instagram live recording podcast episodes. And speaking of going live, go grab that subscribe button for me alongside with alerts so you can be notified on when each episode recording is going to be on the air via live stream. Leave a like and a comment along with the episodes and sports topics. And of course, stay tuned for more video content, including new and previous episodes. In case you miss any of them, don't worry. Everything's all there for you to catch up. And of course, be sure to download the episodes, and not only download these episodes, but also add the sports podcast platform right here to your playlist, which includes Spotify. You have Odyssey, Audible, you have Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and all the other streaming platforms wherever you get your podcasts. All right. And yes, get rid of that. And yes, also make sure you share the episodes, share the videos, listen, stream, and watch the episodes. Tell a friend to another friend, and I'll handle the rest at the end of this podcast show recording. All right. I do apologize for delaying the sports episodes. I was trying to take care of my other podcast show, Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue podcast, and along with Meticulous Wild Juice podcast. So I do apologize for the delay and all that great stuff right there. Um, so all right, so the first thing I want to do is I created a new segment right here involving rumors. So I want to get to it right here. Let me see. In a second, I want to get to it right here. A moment. Yes, so rumor alerts in the air is the first segment right here, and let me break down what this segment is about. This segment is basically talking about the rumors as far as like you know according to certain reports in sports websites or whatever, but I want to be able to debunk those rumors and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't mean some of the reports are accurate. It's not official until a person says it out of their mouth. So here it is right here. The rumors, rumor alerts in the air. All right. Okay. Our first rumor has to do with Brett Beatty. let's get into it right here. It has to do with Brett Beatty right here. Um, Now there has been some talk in regards to him. Now, according to AMNY, here's what this rumor is about. According to AMNY, this rumor started in regards to him and Ronnie Mauricio. And according to this article, for an organization that now appears to be stressing the development of its younger, homegrown players, the Mets' plan at third base should be clear enough. John Heyman of the New York Post reported last week that the Mets don't appear to be in on free agent third baseman Matt Chapman, um, arguably the top hot corner candidate on the open market, which shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Um, the Mets have a trio of young third base options to take a serious look at next season. Heyman naming two of them in Ronnie Mauricio and Brett Beatty as the perceived um, combatants for the everyday job. And Beatty is a natural third baseman who was expected to be the cornerstone at the position for the foreseeable future as one of the organization's top prospects in recent years. But it's been a challenging start, though the sample size is still small. In 119 games over the last two seasons, which featured a torn UCL in his thumb to end his 2022 debut. After just 11 games, the 23-year-old is slashing 210, 272, 325, and a 597 OPS with 11 home runs and 39 RBIs. And in case you're wondering, it's raining right now. The condition of mostly Beatty 100 games, Eduardo Escobar 29 games, and Mark Vientos 19 games posted a WAR of minus 1.2, which ranked dead last at the third base position in Major League Baseball. While Escobar was dealt to the Los Angeles Angels in May, another top prospect in Vientos was used sparingly throughout the season, getting getting most of his looks at the DH spot, which is 38 games. His omission in Heyman's report at least suggests that he'll either get a look at DH again. Hold on. Be used as a utility bat or could potentially be used as a trade chip this winter. I don't think Mark Vientos is going to be traded, unfortunately. Um, but that's to be determined. Um, Mauricio's introduction to the third base equation is a wild card. The 22-year-old got off to a flying start in the majors after his call up on September 1st. There is no doubt that he hits the ball hard, but major question marks surround his defense. With his natural shortstop position taken by Francisco Lindor, the Mets have tried Mauricio at second base and third base while expressing a desire to work him into the outfield too. He got 5 games at the hot corner, but mostly played at second base, a spot he looked more comfortable in and could very well slot into if the Mets deem Jeff McNeil as more of an outfield or super utility option. So that's remains to be seen, man. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's remains to be seen. Let me see. Um, hold on a second. Um, hang on a second here. Okay. All right. So that was rumor alerts in the air. So um let's get into the quick side bleacher bar. All right. Um, all right, let's get into it right here. So this is just yeah. Of course, we need to talk about the issue at third base, man, for the future and stuff. So, this is pertaining to like it all started between Brett Baty and Eduardo Escobar before he got traded. Um, so let's take a deep dive into what happens here. But first, let me take a sip of water real quick. Sorry about that, folks. I wanted to give a little information in regards to in regards to the battle for third base and catcher's positions. So let's start off with third base. And this is according to Mets Mesmerize online.com. So the New York Mets have a nailed on starter in plenty of areas on the diamond, but one position that is filled with unknowns is third base. Seven different players made at least one start at the hot corner during the 2023 season, four of which remain in the organization. Regarding player personnel, third base is a position that must be addressed once David Stern selects a manager. Let's continue this series by taking a deep dive into the organization's depth at third base in preparation for 2024. Starting with the big league starter. While his 2023 campaign was far from impressive, this might be Brett Baty's job to lose in the short term. The former first round draft pick made a team high 94 starts at third base last season despite all of his struggles at the plate. Baty failed to find any sort of consistency with the bat, slashing 213, 275, 323, 598 with 9 home runs, 34 runs batted in, and a 65 OPS in 389 plate appearances. Damn. Damn, son. He's about to lose his job at third base? That doesn't sound good at all. That does not sound good at all. That does not sound good. Um, hold up. Yeah, that's not something you usually want to hear sometimes for a third baseman that's about to lose his position. All right, let's keep going here. Let's keep going. All right, so here's what we have. Here's what we have here. Um, the 23-year-old was expected to be a big pitcher for the Mets for years to come, but that has yet to come to fruition. Unless the front office decides to add a big name through free agency or via a trade, Baty will probably be the starting third baseman on opening day. But his leash is starting to shorten as finding a stable solution at that position will become an even bigger priority. Baty's rapid progression through the minor leagues gave fans hope that he could be the team's third baseman for the next decade. if his offense can take a step forward and he shows improvements defensively, he can still be that guy. But at this moment in time, there are plenty of questions regarding Beatty and his overall performance at the big league level. Now, let's get to big league depth. The Mets have their fair share of depth at third base, especially when you include players who are capable of filling in at multiple positions in the infield. Luis Guillorme, which I will get to next, who spent quite a bit of time in AAA Syracuse last season, has been a Swiss Army knife for the big league Mets since 2018. The 29-year-old only had 120 plate appearances in 54 games, slashing 224, 288, 327, 615 with one home run and 9 runs batted in. Guillaume has always been known for his defense, aka the Wizard, specifically at second and third base. He won't be a free agent until 2026. So expect to see him all over the infield for the Mets throughout the 2024 season. Um okay. Okay. Before I get to the rest of the story, right? Let me get to hold on a second here. Let's get to the Luis Guillorme story right here. Um Now there's been some multiple reports, which is crazy. So and this is according to Rising Apple. Luis Guillaume is one of those beloved backup players New York Mets fans have come to enjoy for the little things he does well. His best attribute has been his defense, but at times he has been a capable hitter to at least poke a single or draw a walk. A lifetime 261, 344, 333 hitter. He's a bit of a throwback to the days when having an OBP higher than your slugging percentage was a bit more common. The ceiling for Guillaume has already been reached. He's a solid infield utility guy you can use to enter the game late to better your odds against making an error. Uh, aside from this, Guillaume isn't all that effective. After 3 straight solid seasons, Guillaume's 2023 campaign saw a sharp decline when the team would have actually benefited from having him playing better. Guillaume doesn't steal bases. He doesn't hit for power. His defense is more slick than anything else. The rise of Ronnie Mauricio to the big leagues and some other factors can mean the end for Guillaume. Well, does the Mets roster have room for Luis Guillaume? Guillaume and Mauricio can coexist on one roster. It doesn't seem so necessary, though. Francisco Lindor is as much of an Iron Man as we could hope for. He logged 161 games in 2022 and another 160 in 2023. The need to carry a true backup shortstop on the roster is non existent. More so, if Mauricio can grab a starting job at second base or third base, he'd be the default player the Mets could turn to in case of an injury, ejection, or abduction. Let's not rule out anything out. Aspernar Gilkey. Mauricio has a lot more to prove. However, Guillorme is now out of the minor leagues option, which will limit the Mets in carrying him at all. That's why he's the odd man out, according to um, a fellow podcaster who goes by Ryan Finkelstein from Locked On Mets podcast. You can catch him on YouTube and all other streaming platforms to as he breaks down the stories, the rumors, and everything else. Check him out. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. All right. All right. So let's see. Where did I leave off? Yes. Um. Yes, having options on bench players allows the sort of flexibility the Mets took advantage of in 2023 when they demoted Guillorme and recalled Mark Vientos. The decision to tender, hang on a minute. The decision to tender Guillorme a contract or not will come early in the offseason before the Mets can guarantee themselves upgrades. David Stearns has no connection to him. Buck Showalter is no longer around to stick up for him either. Guillaume can give the Mets a different bit of flair than someone like Vientos in a part-time role who's all offense oriented. The Mets can find room for Guillaume on their roster, but they need to be careful about not throwing away too many other spots. Carrying a speedster like Tim LaCastro is out of the question. Bringing back a part-time DH player like Daniel Vogelback doesn't make sense either. And he's also got tender too, so that means he's not coming back either. Daniel Vogelback is not coming back either, according to some YouTube videos I've been watching. Um, Guillaume, as essentially the 26th man on the bench, remains a fit for the Mets. He may not have been very good in 2023. Neither were most of his teammates. So yeah, the possibility of trading Guillaume is always there too. We should expect Stearns and the new general manager to make some drastic and deep changes to the personnel. This includes a beloved utility man whose facial hair is just as popular as him. Oh boy. Yeah. And let's see. Let's see another Luis Guillaume news. Um yeah, let's see. Yeah, yeah, because okay, so speaking of which, all right, so designated hitter Daniel Vogelback and reserve infielder Luis Guillorme were cut Friday by the New York Mets. The team also declined to offer 2024 contracts to relievers Jeff Brigham, Sam Coonrod, and Trevor Gott, making them free agents along with Vogelback and Guillorme. New York agreed to a $1.38 million 1 year deal with outfielder DJ Stewart, who is back on the roster. Um, a pleasant surprise last season after he came up from AAA Syracuse. Like the others, Stewart had been eligible for arbitration this winter. Friday night was the deadline for major league teams to tender contracts to arbitration eligible players. New York did tender its five other such players. First baseman Pete Alonso, reliever Phil Bickford, left-handers Joey Lucchese and David Peterson, and reliever Drew Smith. For the Mets, these mark the most significant roster decisions yet for new president of baseball operations David Stearns, formerly from the Milwaukee Brewers, who took over the team in early October. The beefy Vogelback, a 2019 All-Star with Seattle, batted 233 with 13 home runs, 48 RBIs, and a 742 OPS in 104 games this year. He struck out 81 times in 319 plate appearances and was headed into his final year of arbitration eligibility. Guillorme, a slick fielder, aka Wizard, who plays all over the infield, hit 224 with one homer, 9 RBIs, and a paltry 615 OPS in 120 big league plate appearances over 54 games last season. He was demoted to the minors for a while and after returning missed 2 months with a strained right calf. His days with the Mets appeared numbered when New York claimed Zach Short off waivers from Detroit early last week. Short is also a light hitting backup infielder who can play shortstop. Stewart, who turns 30 at the end of this month, was a first round draft pick by Baltimore in 2015 out of Florida State. He batted 244 with 11 home runs, 26 RBIs, and an 840 OPS in 58 games for the Mets last season. Playing improved defense in right field as well. He could assume Vogelback's role as a left-handed bat with power against right-handed pitching while providing the added benefit of being able to play a corner outfield spot. Stearns hired rookie manager Carlos Mendoza to replace Buck Showalter after the disappointing Mets finished fourth in the NL East this year at 75 to 87, despite having the highest payroll in big league history. Mendoza was introduced at a Citi Field news conference Tuesday. He spent the past 4 seasons across town as skipper Aaron Boone's bench coach with the New York Yankees. I will do a particular episode in the future in regards to Carlos Mendoza. I'm not going to have time to do it here as far as anything goes. All right. All right. So yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy for Luis Guillorme to be cut though, man. And I heard that the Mets signed Joey Wendell, and I found out that he's number 18, which is interesting because I really thought that that number was going to be retired by Darryl Strawberry, but um you can't really rule out the phrase never say never. You know what I'm saying? Um hold on. Before I continue the baseball news and stuff, we have some sad news in the football world. Um, according to USA Today, former NFL running back Alex Collins, who played 5 seasons in the league, has passed away. He was 28. Collins was killed in a fatal car crash involving a motorcycle and vehicle in Lauderdale Lakes, Florida. I never heard of that area before, but anyway, according to the Broward County Sheriff's Office, and circumstances surrounding the crash are still under investigation. The incident occurred Sunday night at 10:20 p.m. Eastern, and Collins was pronounced deceased at the scene by Broward County deputies. Collins would have turned 29 on August 26th. Damn. Damn, son. Everybody keeps saying I'm gone too soon, which is probably true though. Man, yeah. All right, let's continue. Um, in quote, with heavy hearts, we mourn the passing of Alex Collins. Always quick to greet everyone with a smile. He was a genuinely kind person who carried a special joy and passion wherever he went, the Baltimore Ravens said in a statement. May Alex always be remembered for the light and love he brought to so many people in his life. Um, Collins was a fifth round pick out of Arkansas by the Seattle Seahawks in the 2016 NFL Draft. Collins played 3 seasons in Seattle, 2016, 2020 to 2021, and 2 in Baltimore, 2017 to 18. Collins enjoyed his best NFL season with the Ravens when he rushed for a career high 973 yards, averaging 4.6 yards per carry, and scored 6 touchdowns in 2017. He followed up that he followed that up by scoring a career high 8 touchdowns in 2018. He finished his career with 1,997 yards rushing and 19 touchdowns, 18 via rush. Collins most recently played for the Mississippi Showboats. Damn. Of the USFL in 2023. Absolutely heartbroken prayers are with the Collins family, the Seahawks posted to social media. Collins was remembered by Ravens head coach John Harbaugh in a statement released by the team on Monday night. Alex was a joy to be around and someone whose light shined brightly. I always remember him for being a great teammate who had an uplifting spirit that impacted everyone he encountered, Harbaugh said. He was also a smart player who ran with unlimited determination, and and he contributed to a lot of our success during his time in Baltimore. We send our heartfelt condolences and support to Alex's family. May he now rest in God's eternal peace. Collins attended Plantation High School in Plantation, Florida. Another area I never heard of before. Where he was also a standout sprinter, running the third leg of a state champion 4 times 100-meter relay team. Um, he went on to become one of the top rushers in Arkansas Razorbacks history. His 3,703 rushing yards are second in Razorback record books behind Darren McFadden, 4,590. In 2013, Collins became the first freshman in SEC history to rush for 100 or more yards in 3 consecutive games, and first true freshman in FBS since Oklahoma's Adrian Peterson did so in 2004. We are so saddened by the sudden and tragic passing of Alex Collins. He was a legendary Razorback and an even better person. Arkansas football wrote in a statement on social media his love for the Razorbacks and desire to be a Hog was undeniable. We will miss him greatly. Uh, our thoughts are with his family and loved ones during this difficult time. Hashtag RIP3. Russell Wilson, Collins' teammate in Seattle, wrote to one of my favorite teammates. You brought joy to every huddle. Keep dancing in heaven. Love you, AC. Forever missed. RIP. All right. So, um, all right. Now that I got that out the way, let's get to Gerrit Cole. I'll continue with the Mets related stuff after. Um, okay, so New York Yankees right-hander Gerrit Cole was named a finalist for the 2023 American League Cy Young Award on Monday. It it marks the third time in his career that Cole will finish in the top three as one of the AL's best pitchers. As a member of the Astros in 2019, Cole finished second behind teammate Justin Verlander for the award. 2 years later, uh, Cole was a Yankee when the Baseball Writers Association of America voted him second behind Blue Jays left-hander Robbie Ray. Um, the announcement of this year's winner will be made on MLB Network on November, which already took place already. Um, it took place on November 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern. The other finalists are the Blue Jays' Kevin Guzman and Sonny Gray of the Twins. Cole is hoping to become the first Yankee to win the award since Roger Clemens in 2001. While the Yankees had a disappointing campaign in 2023, Cole had a season to remember. Besides leading the team with a 7.5 BWAR, Cole led the AL in 8 pitching categories, including ERA, 2.63 innings pitched, 209, and whip 0.98. Cole put himself in the thick of the Cy Young conversations with a stellar 7 start stretch to close the season, going 5-0 with a 1.29 ERA, and 52 strikeouts, 7 earned runs in 48 two-third innings pitched. New York won 23 of his 33 starts overall. He's the best pitcher in the game, teammate Aaron Judge said after Cole's last outing. This is Gerrit Cole's era. That's for sure. He's the benchmark for what an ace is supposed to be like on and off the field. Cole, who spent no, excuse me, Cole, who went 15-4, did more than just dominate in his last 7 starts. His 2.63 ERA was the lowest by a qualified Yankee pitcher since Rudy May recorded a 2.46 mark in 41 games, 17 starts in 1980. It was also the 4th lowest ERA by a qualified Yankee in the last 49 years, trailing only Ron Guidry, 1.74 ERA in 1978. May and Catfish Hunter. Catfish Hunter. Oh, shit. 2.58 ERA in 1975. That's a crazy funny ass name, man. Catfish. Oh shit. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh shit. Wow. Oh shit. All right. Cole allowed more than 3 runs just five times. Hold on a second. Hold on a second here. 5 times. Hold on a second. Hold on a second here. 5 times. Yes, 5 times in 33 starts this season, yielding 27 of his 64 runs in those 5 starts. In his other 28 starts, he gave up just 37 runs for an average of just 1.32 runs per game. After pitching his last game of the season, a 2-hit shutout of the Blue Jays on September 27th, Cole was grateful that his team played hard every time he was on the mound. In the 33 games that I was able to play this year, they showed up every single time, Cole said, after some of our collective hopes fell by the wayside. It motivated them to continue to play hard. When I look back at it, I just think about the hard work from everybody. I'm just very grateful. And yeah. All right, let me continue. Let me continue where I left off here, man. Let me continue where I left off. Let me continue where I left off here. All right. No, not this. Hold on a second. Oh man. And speaking of wait a second here. Wait a minute here. Wait. Let me get to continue where I left off here actually. Hold up. That's not it. That is not it. Hold on a second. Lost it though. All right. Yes. Yes. Let me. And where did I? Damn. Yes, this is where I was. All right, Mark Vientos, 19 starts at third base, and Ronnie Mauricio, five starts at third base. will also be in contention to be the full-time starter at third. Both players are young and have the potential to be important pieces in the team's quest to return to the postseason, which is going on right now. Although their best positions are still unclear. Vientos is candidate, a candidate to be um, the starting designated hitter as the backup to Pete Alonso at first base. Mauricio can play shortstop, second base, third base, and the Mets may not. The Mets may look to play him in left field occasionally. Both Vientos and Mauricio were everyday starters throughout September, which should give each of them confidence going into spring training. The question is, what kind of role will they have on the big league roster in 2024? Vientos is not a strong fielder, particularly at third. If he wants to earn playing time at that position, his defense must take a significant step forward. As for Mauricio, his amount of playing time will largely depend on where Jeff McNeil features. If he if he plays in the outfield, more playing time will be up for grabs at second base. Otherwise, getting more reps at this base will be important for Mauricio. Now, upper level depth. The organization has a few minor leaguers to keep an eye on at third base, one being Jeremiah Jackson. He was acquired in the deal that sent reliever Dominic Leone to the Los Angeles Angels before the trade deadline. The 23-year-old had a strong finish to the 2023 campaign in Double A Binghamton, slashing 264, 344, 457, 802 with 7 home runs. 24 runs batted in and 7 stolen bases in 37 games. He played a crucial role in the Rumble Ponies advancing to the Eastern League Championship Series when they fell to the Erie Seawolves in 2 games. Jackson could be in line to start the 2024 season in AAA Syracuse. Jackson played 5 different positions in 37 games with Binghamton, including 8 games at third base. Luke Ritter, a 26-year-old who can play all over the infield, showed quite a bit of power throughout the 2023 season. He hit a total of 27 home runs in 107 games, split between Double-A Binghamton and Triple-A Syracuse. Ritter is at an age where he should be closing on a major league debut. He will hope to complete that goal at some point next year. Jose Peraza is another name to watch out for, who climbed all the way up from Single A St. Lucie to Triple A Syracuse in one season. Peraza played in 109 games last year, slashing 249, 347, 419, 766 with 12 home runs and 61 runs batted in. Now, potential acquisitions. If the front office has concerns about Beatty, Vientos, and Mauricio, especially in the short term, the Mets could add a veteran into the mix. Evan Longoria, which I doubt that's going to happen, who will play in the World Series with the Arizona Diamondbacks, will be a free agent at the end of the postseason. The team could also look into signing former Met Justin Turner. I don't think so, man, because he, from what one of the YouTubers on YouTube was talking about his age. He's 39 actually, so that's probably not going to happen. Although, in order for that to even be a possibility, he would have to decline his $13.4 million player option with the Boston Red Sox. The Mets could attempt to sign either one of those veterans to a 1-year deal or a 1-year deal with a player team option for 2025 if they take that route. Matt Chapman is the most intriguing name on the list of free agents after spending of the last two seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays. The three-time Gold Glove winner will be searching for a long-term deal, so the Mets will only be in play for him if they were to trade their internal options and or want to make sure they have more security at the position. But if the team chooses to retain their young talent, signing a veteran to a one-year deal seems like the most likely option at third base. All right, so that remains to be seen, man. That remains to be seen. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see what else we got to talk about here. Let's see. We got so much to talk about here, though. All right, so obviously we got to talk about Starling Marte. All right, and this is from Rising Apple. Starling Marte is now the owner of the worst contract on the books for the New York Mets. Among those still on the roster, his inability to stay healthy and decline this past year puts him in the same conversation as past Mets like James McCann or Robinson Cano. Fans are fed up and not expecting much from him in 2024 or even 2025. Um, Signing Marte in the first place seemed like a swell idea by the team heading into 2022. They ended up agreeing to a 4-year deal worth $78 million, was a reasonable amount for a starting center fielder coming off of such an impressive year. Well, look at how that turned out. That's a good question. Yeah. Okay. Um okay, where were we? Yes. Therein lies one of those mistakes with his contract. The Mets paid him like a center fielder. In only his second year, he looks like a below average corner outfielder. His 1.0 WAR posted on defense was the lowest of his career, and another uh, telltale sign this contract has some issues. Hmm. Let's see. Um, Yes, the Starling Marte contract went stale quicker than anticipated. In recent years, the Mets have been pretty careful with contracts. Mark Canna and Eduardo Escobar, for example, had team options for 2024. Max Scherzer had a player option, which at the time of his signing didn't feel like it could ever become much of a headache. If he helped the Mets win a World Series, and we all knew he absolutely would, who cares about what happens in year number three? Um, none of those None of those deals worked out the way we wanted them to, but at least the Mets are free of each in their own way with Scherzer still getting paid by them partially for another year, not Marte. He has 2 seasons left on his deal. Dumping him elsewhere might not be so easy. The fourth year was expected to be killer for the team. Generally, you won't find a player performing his best on the other side of 35. Marte's speed and athleticism is what drew the Mets to him in the first place, although he remains a stolen base threat and maybe more so with the MLB rule changes implemented this year. It's inevitable to see the wheels get a little flatter each year. The biggest shame of all is Marte was expected, no, excuse me, was the exact injection the team needed in 2022. It became most noticeable when the All-Star outfielder played his last regular season game for the team on September 6th. Their lead over the Atlanta Braves slowly diminished. His absence was one of the big reasons why. Halfway, halfway over, the big problem with the Marte deal is that these first 2 years have felt the way the last two should have been. By 2024, we should have expected him to perform well, but break down in the final season of the contract in 2025. He should have given them a performance like he did in 2023. It's the prospects we want to see accelerate their timelines, not the fading veterans. Um, one less guaranteed season would have been perfect for this contract. And the off-season bidding war for Marte. Hold on. the Mets must the Mets must have felt they needed to go further. Unless things change, they'll pay in a different way, other than money. In other, let me see. In other Starling Marte news, let me just take a look here. Um, let me just take a look. Boy. All right, hold on a second here. Yeah. All right. So, 1 year ago, Starling Marte, uh, was coming off a very good first season with the Mets. Today, the 35-year-old outfielder looks like one of the biggest question marks. Excuse me, one of the biggest question marks on the team's roster moving forward. In 2022, the first season of a 4-year deal that Marte signed with the Mets, Marte hit 292, 347, 468 with a 134 WRC plus and 505 plate appearances and had a solid 2.9 FWAR. Unfortunately for Marte and the Mets, he suffered an injury in early September, missed the rest of the month as the Mets wound up letting the division title and uh the bye that would have come with it slip away. He was able to get back into the lineup for the wild card round, but he went just 2 for 12 with one walk and a 398 OPS in that series. Following the season, Marte had core muscle surgery, and the hope was that he would come into the 2023 season fully healthy, but he never really looked right this year at the plate, and especially in the field. He wound up making just 341 plate appearances and hit a putrid 248, 301, 324 with a 76 WRC plus. He missed significant time with injury and could need a repeat of the surgery he had last year. How the Mets approach the offseason, their first under David Stearns and potentially a forthcoming new general manager remains to be seen. Marte figures to be very difficult to move, though, and until the Mets make other moves, he'd be one of their top outfielders heading into opening day if healthy. That's a big if, man. Given the uncertainty, the Mets shouldn't count on Marte being that high on their outfield depth chart, though. With 2 years left on his contract, it looks like any positive contributions the Mets would get out of Marte would be gravy at this point. Perhaps he'll turn that perception around in 2024, but the Mets should make sure he's fully recovered, even if that means delaying the start of his season in hopes of getting much better production. And speaking of injuries, man, we got to talk about Tommy Pham, who is one of the players who got traded to the Diamondbacks. Yes, yes, we got to talk about him. Um, yeah, we got to talk about him though. Let's see. Let me see. Oh boy. All right. All right. Hold on a second, folks. Monday morning. Right. Let's see. Hold on a second. Yes. So, according to New York Post, okay. So the Mets received a positive diagnosis on Tommy Pham's right groin Friday, but um, can we not do this? Can we not do this, man? Oh my gosh. Can we not do this? Hang on 1 second, folks. Yeah, they'll slowly, it will take it slowly with the veteran infielder. Yeah, he's one of the veterans. Um, yeah, an MRI exam didn't show anything of concern, according to manager Buck Showalter, which I'll get to next, who had removed the veteran outfielder from the game Thursday for precautionary reasons. Pham had tightness in his groin, which had also bothered him during the Mets' last series before the All Star break. We were able to have a good imaging comparison from the last one, and they were the same. Showalter said Friday before the Mets had their game against the Red Sox at Fenway Park, suspended by rain. Hopefully, we got ahead of it. It just tightened up on him and cramped up on him. We just wanted to be on the safe side there. Pham was available off the bench Friday, while Mark Canha started in left field with Jeff McNeil in right. Um, the Mets lost an outfielder Starling Marte due to the injured list on Thursday. Marte has been battling migraines. Not only is Pham among the Mets' um, most productive hitters, but with the August 1st trade deadline looming and the team headed toward possible sell mode, the outfielder's health will be watched. Pham is signed only through the season and could be among the players the Mets are willing to deal. David Peterson will remain in the Mets bullpen for the short term, according to the pitching coach Jeremy Hefner. But unless the left-hander is needed in the rotation, he will likely return to AAA Syracuse at some point to remain stretched out as a starter. I still think he has some link built up on him as to where if something happened in the rotation, we wouldn't have to necessarily sit him out to get built back up, Hefner said. He wouldn't be able to throw 100 pitches right away, but depending on matchup, I think he could still provide some link there. Entering Friday, Peterson had pitched twice in relief since last starting for the Mets in July on July 7th in San Diego. Um, the lefty pitched 1 1/3 scoreless innings in relief against the White Sox on Thursday. The slider has done well since he's come back, Hefner said. The Mets entered Friday 22-29 on the road this season. Their 51 road games were tied for the most in the National League and second in MLB. Okay, we need to talk about Adam Ottavino, who opted out of his contract, by the way. And it's crazy. And I just saw him on Baseball Night in New York on SNY as one of the analysts, which is interesting actually. So let's get into it right here. All right, and this is according to Amazing Avenue. While the biggest Mets news yesterday was the hiring of Carlos Mendoza as the team's new manager, Adam Ottavino made some news himself by declining his player option with the Mets for the 2024 season. The soon-to-be 38-year-old would have earned $6.75 million next year if he had picked up the option. Ottavino made his name as a member of the Rockies and spent 7 seasons in Colorado. He pitched for the Yankees in 2019 and 2020, the Red Sox in 2021, and was with the Mets for the past 2 seasons. While a return to the Mets bullpen next year isn't possible, it doesn't seem incredibly likely. In the Mets 1-1 win season in 2022, Ottavino was great. He threw 65.2 innings, drastically improved up his walk rate, and finished the year with a 2.06 ERA and a 2.5 FIP. This year, however, he was less effective, finishing the season with a 3.21 ERA and a 4.52 FIP. Give his age and his relatively modest performance, it's a bit surprising that he declined his option. All right, on to let me see. Hold on a second. Let me see. Hold on a second here. Hold on 1 second here. Hold on 1 second here. Mm. All right. All right. So we're gonna go over the time Buck Showalter was with the Mets, right, and pertaining to Francisco Alvarez. So perhaps Mets general manager Billy Epler, who actually left, by the way, farm line in sand from spring training that will withhold top prospect Francisco Alvarez from getting at bats as the designated hitter is a bit softer than initially believed. I'd be more inclined than you think I would. Manager Buck Showalter said on Tuesday when asked about the possibility of DH work for the 21-year-old catcher, I don't want him to get too far away from catching. I want him to get out there as much as we can. Such a sentiment hinges on whether or not Major League Baseball's number 1 ranked prospect can show he's an offensive force, but the Mets skipper did not immediately shoot such a notion down. Alvarez was called up ahead of the Mets home opener on Friday after veteran backstop Omar Narvaez went down with a calf strain that is expected to keep him out for 8 to 9 weeks. Um, he started Sunday's series finale against the Miami Marlins, going 1 for 4 with an RBI, and got the nod to start behind the plate for Tuesday night's meeting with the San Diego Padres at Citi Field. Um, the prime, it's a prime opportunity for the Venezuela native to show the Mets that he's capable of staying up in the big leagues for the long haul sooner rather than later. Um, though his defense is seen as the one asset of his game that is ultimately holding him back. Hence why the organization wants to keep his appearances, whether in the majors or AAA, mainly as a catcher rather than a DH. But the Mets are once again dealing with subpar production from that spot in the lineup. Designated hitters were batting 229 with just one home run and 3 RBI through their first 11 games of the season, and Alvarez obviously provides a tantalizing option for a potential surge to lengthen the lineup. Showalter simply won't throw Alvarez into such a situation. He painstakingly goes through the pitching matchups to ensure the best possible opportunity for the young slugger to establish some confidence in the big leagues, having started just 3 for 16 with a home run and 2 RBI. I'm not as cautious about it as you might think Showalter continue. If it's the right matchup, I'll go with it, and you might be surprised about how early I'll do it. All right. Let's see. Let's see what else we got going on here. What else we got going on here? All right. And I forgot to mention about Steve Cohen actually. The Mets reconnection to their history under owner Steve Cohen will mean an increased alumni presence in spring training. David Wright, Edgardo Alfonzo, Darryl Strawberry, Mookie Wilson, Howard Johnson, John Franco, and Al Leiter make up the roster of guest instructors the team will bring to camp, according to manager Buck Showalter. And Wright will be present March 1st to the 2nd. Alfonzo and Strawberry from March 2nd to the 6th. Wilson and Johnson from March 5th to the 10th. And Franco and Leiter from March 20th to the 27th. A notable absentee will be Mike Piazza, who is managing team Italy in the World Baseball Classic. Franco's appearance at camp will be his first in several years. Johnson returned to the Mets family last season following a rift with the previous regimen that had kept him separated from the franchise following his firing as the team's hitting coach after the 2010 season. Showalter indicated he plans to utilize Wright to work with rookies Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos at third base. But Wright has other commitments that will prevent him from staying longer than 2 days. Joey Lucchesi and Dominic Hamill are the Mets' scheduled starting pitchers for an intra-squad scrimmage Friday at Clover Park. The game is expected to last about 5 innings. We're rehearsing for an event, Showalter said, referring to the split squad Grapefruit League opener Saturday. The opener against the Marlins is scheduled for 6:10 p.m. Saturday, according to Showalter, so he and his staff will be able to attend both games. The other half of the squad will face the Astros in West Palm Beach beginning at 1:05 p.m. All right. Let's see. Let's see what else we have to talk about here. Let me make sure I cover the bases here. Let's see. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. All right. Mark Vientos. Let's get to him. And this is from Amazing Avenue, the website. So before the season, Amazing Avenue ranked Mark Vientos eighth on our 2023 Mets prospect list. The write-up on Vientos after 2022, where he crushed AAA but struggled in a brief MLB stint, was pretty much the same it had been for a few years now. He hits the ball pretty hard when he squares it up, but despite having some first base and third base flexibility, he's probably a DH, and his ground ball rate, swing and miss, and lack of end zone contact make for a questionable offensive profile against major league quality pitching. Vientos started the year in AAA and hit like a gangbuster while he was there. On May 17th, with the Mets reeling and needing a jolt of some sort, they called Vientos up to the big leagues. He played third base that night and hit a two-run homer that helped fuel a comeback against the Rays, but the Mets didn't exactly have a clear path to playing time for the 23-year-old after that. With first base covered and the team mostly committed to Brett Beatty at third, that left the only DH at bats available for Vientos for a while, and the team was not willing to sit Daniel Vogelbach against right-hand pitching. That meant Vientos' playing time was fairly inconsistent and sporadic. He started only 5 games in his 10 days in the majors. The playing time mildly increased from there, but still wasn't anywhere near consistent. Vientos had logged only 49 plate appearances through June 14th when he was sent back down after struggling to a 178, 224, 244 line. He would go back to AAA to get more consistent at bats and beat up on some minor league pitching some more, and would return to the big leagues on July 21st. With the team's deadline sell-off and Beatty struggling in his own right, there were more at bats for Vientos to accumulate this time around, even if he wasn't a lineup fixture every day. In 184 PAs from that point to the end of the year, Vientos still didn't excel. He hit just 220, 261, 399 with a 79 WRC plus the rest of the way. His season his season numbers weren't pretty. A measly 68 WRC plus and negative 0.9 FWAR. He struck out over 30% of the time and walked only 4.3% of the time and hit the ball on the ground at a 51% clip. The most promise he showed was during a 70 PA stretch from August 29th to September 21st, during which he slashed 303, 343, 606. He hit 7 of his 8 homers for the year in that time, flashing some of his power, hitting some balls really hard, and showing signs of coming around. But a look under the hood, a look under the hood didn't actually rather show any underlying improvements. He was actually making less contact during that stretch than he was before, walking even less and hitting the ball on the ground over 60% of the time in those 70 PAs, believe it or not. Vientos cooled off again after that stretch and went just 4 for his last 34 to finish off the season. A big issue for him, as it always been, was contact. He ran a 75.1% Z contact, which was eighth worst among all hitters with at least 200 PAs in baseball. There aren't a lot of great hitters that live in that range, but those who do have success in that range usually overcome their contact issues by either drawing lots of walks, hitting the ball in the air a lot to maximize their power, or playing a premium defensive position. Vientos will almost certainly not climb back up the defensive spectrum at this point. And while he has the ability to improve his plate discipline, he's unlikely to b- ever become Joey Votto either. So he's going to have to improve his launch angle and or his contact ability to make an impact at the MLB level. A hitter like Vientos just not going to have value if over 80% of his PAs end up in a strikeout or ground ball. Um, One can argue that part of the problem is that he hasn't gotten consistent enough playing time or utilized effectively under Buck Showalter. And while there is absolutely some truth to that, the issues here go much deeper than him just needing more time to work out the kinks. These are fundamental flaws in his offensive profile that have been present and discussed at length for years. Legitimate work needs to be done here to get him to where he needs to be. None of this is a death knell to his career, of course, but Vientos' future in the organization is up in the air as of now. It's still very possible he could emerge as a strong platoon bat against left-handed pitching at the very least. And he still deserves a chance with an organization that can do a better job of maximizing his power. With new leadership and presumably new hitting coaches, the Mets could still be that organization, but we also don't know how that new leadership views this polarizing young hitter. Okay, okay, let's see. Let's see. Um, what else, man? Oh yeah, a little recap here, man. Um, a a little recap here actually, and this is from um, the website Amazing Avenue. So when previewing this series earlier this week, I noticed that the Mets and Pirates came in with the same record, and that the team that lost the series would be in a better position to finish the year and a better draft lottery spot. From that perspective, the Mets are perhaps losers for having won today's game and thus the series. Nevertheless, for a team that has not won a series since selling at the trade deadline, the players undoubtedly wanted to have something to feel good about, if only for a brief moment, by beating the Pirates 8-3 today. They do have that, even if the team's draft lottery position may end up suffering slightly as a result. The Mets got the scoring started today in the bottom of the second when DJ Stewart hit a solo homer right after hitting a two-run shot in yesterday's game against Pirates starter pitcher Johan um, Alviendo. The bats didn't stop there as they proceeded to load the bases in front of Francisco Lindor, who hit an opposite field line drive single to score an individual 2 runs to make it 3-0. However, the Pirates would quickly strike back against Tyler McGill, who is trying to find some reasons for optimism at the struggling since returning from the minor leagues earlier this month. After escaping some trouble in the first 2 innings, McGill surrendered back-to-back extra base hits, a double from Key Brian Hayes, and a two-run homer from Brian Reynolds to lead off the top of the third to put the score at 3-2. McGill managed to otherwise keep the Pirates off the board, though he ultimately through made it through 5 innings. Um, and only surrendered those 2 runs despite giving up 5 hits and 4 walks. Meanwhile, the Mets offense would go on to further build lead their lead beginning in the bottom of the fourth when Rafael Ortega hit a 1-out single and 1-out double, and came home 2 batters later on Brandon Brandon Nimmo RBI single. Hold on. Then 1 inning later, DJ Stewart once again showed off his power, hitting a 2-run shot for his second homer of the day to make it a 6-2 ball game. The Mets bullpen came on in the top of the sixth, and the Pirates quickly edged closer as Phil Bickford surrendered a 2-out RBI single to Alika Williams to make it a 3-run game. But the Amazons would ultimately get that run back in the bottom of the seventh when Pete Alonso hit a line drive solo homer to left. Then they further added to the lead, getting 2 runners on a via walk and an error, and then getting an RBI knock from Ortega to make it 8-3. Meanwhile, despite Bickford's struggles, the Mets bullpen ultimately performed well as Brooks Raley, Trevor Gott, and Adam Ottavino combined to throw 3 scoreless innings to close things out. With that, the Mets had their very elusive series win. They would now head on the road to face another team, which they are engaged in a draft position battle as they begin a 4-game series against the Cardinals in St. Louis tomorrow night. Speaking of Brooks Rarely, hold on a second here. Let me make sure. Nah, I don't have him in this I don't have him in this particular description. So um, I'll probably try to cover him at the end of the. At, I'll probably cover him in a future episode. So all right, some off-season shakeups we got to get into. All right, let's get into that right here. Some off-season shakeups. All right, so hang on. All right. So we have a 40-man roster in terms of the shakeups that we need to get into. All right, so this is from the Athletics. So for the second straight off season, the Mets roster looks prime for turnover. This time though, it's for a completely different reason. Whereas the Mets lost many key contributors due to free agency a year ago. This roster features several tenuous spots because it lacks quality depth and flexibility. It's a byproduct of the Mets failing in 2023 and pivoting to a major sale made at the trade deadline. Wow. Um Indeed, new president of baseball operations, David Stearns, has plenty of work in front of him. The Mets have a solid core, but the space between players who can provide useful depth and others on shakier ground is quite thin. At least Stearns should have plenty of room to maneuver and improve the roster. Also, he holds some experience with jumping right in and having to make quick evaluations. During his first offseason in Milwaukee, he made a ton of moves. It's helpful that I've gone through it once before and I understand the volume of information that is going to be coming at me really quickly here. The number of people I have to meet, Stearns said Monday. The baseball calendar doesn't wait for anyone. So before we know it, the World Series is going to be over and we have to start making decisions. To get a better read on the decisions ahead and the construction that's to come, here is a rundown of the 40-man roster arranged into tiers based on estimated job security. Starting with tier one, building blocks. Francisco Lindor, the shortstop, rebounded from a poor May to produce his first 30-30 season. With his offensive tools, defense, and leadership, he again showed why he's largely considered one of the game's best shortstops and someone worthy of New York's expensive long-term commitment to him. Lindor's contract runs through 2031 at an annual average value of $34.1 million, um, making him the most unmovable player on the Mets. Ooh, that's interesting. That's pretty interesting right there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me see what else. What else we have? Um, what else we got? Okay. All right. So we got Brendan Nimmo, center fielder. After re-signing for 8 years and $162 million, Nimmo played a career best 152 games. Staying healthy and available became a top priority for Nimmo, who played well defensively while upping his power. Career best 24 home runs. Two-way center fielders have become increasingly rare and expensive, and Nimmo, age 30, should provide dependability at the important position until the farm system is ready to offer a replacement. Hmm. Okay. Pete Alonso, first baseman. Perhaps Alonso deserves his own tier as the club's biggest question, which is funny because he's such a sure thing in terms of the power he provides on the field. But the Mets at least discussed Alonso at the trade deadline with other clubs. Stearns said on Monday that he expected Alonso to be the opening day first baseman next year. But what's his long term future in Flushing? It remains possible that the two sides work out a long-term agreement. But until it happens, the questions will persist. For now, he's slated for a final year of arbitration. Uh, the $14.5 million for Alonso last winter was uh, a record for a first baseman and his second time through the process. The 29-year-old becomes eligible for free agency after 2024. Hmm. All right. Edwin Diaz, the pitcher who got injured in the WBC Classic this year. So Edwin Diaz, because of knee surgery in March, Diaz has yet to throw a pitch for the Mets as baseball's most expensive reliever, a title he earned last winter. He's on track to be fine for spring training. I did see a video of him basically exercising, and it looks like a good sign that he is coming back in 2024. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, with the Mets, they need to be careful. You need to be careful using him. So most likely they're not going to use him in spring training, but most likely in the regular season remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. So we'll see what happens with Edwin Diaz. Now, Kodai Senga produced a best possible outcome and should earn a decent amount of votes for not just Rookie of the Year, but the Cy Young Award too. The team's ability to win, however, remains important to Senga, age 30. The Mets inked him to a 5-year deal out of Japan, but he can opt out after 2025 if he logs at least 234 innings over the next 2 seasons. Jeff McNeil, utility guy. A left elbow non-throwing injury ended McNeil's season with 4 games left on the Mets schedule. After winning the batting title in 2022, McNeil hinted at battling some nagging ailments throughout a down season offensively. Still, the Mets expect him to be fine for spring training. The club extended him before the 2023 season with a contract that remains fairly team friendly given his positional versatility and contact skills. For those reasons, McNeil would also generate interest on the trade market. His ability to play second base or either corner outfield spots makes him valuable to the Mets, who have holes, and a creative leader in Stearns who loves having flexibility when building a roster. Now, Francisco Alvarez, the catcher, as a rookie, Alvarez took over the starting catcher job by endearing himself to veteran pitchers with a strong work ethic while racking up home runs. At age 21, Alvarez remains a couple years away from even reaching arbitration. Can we stop calling them the baby Mets, man? They are grown men, all right? This is just too it's too much, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're grown men. They're not the baby Mets, man. Like 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 stop it, man, for real. Now we go to the two-tier um likely keepers. Starling Marte will be in the third year of a 4-year contract worth $78 million. He's the Mets' second highest paid player. He played in only 86 games and produced just a 625 OPS. With his contract, age, injury history, and poor performance in 2023, he present a difficult situation from a trade perspective. How much New York can expect from the 34-year-old after a season compromised by groin surgery and other ailments remains a significant question. Jose Quintana, a consistent performer. Quintana would generate significant trade interest, but the Mets would be wise to hold on to him if they wish to contend in 2024. After bone graft surgery on his rib, Quintana missed the first half but showcased his dependability upon his return. He will enter the final year of his contract at a fair price of $13 million. Now, Brooks Raley said he'd like the Mets to pick up the team option they have on him for $6.5 million, and it would be surprising if they didn't. Raley was once again a solid high leverage reliever who can also get right-handed batters out. Adam Ottavino sounded a bit less sure of whether he exercised his player option for 2024, saying he wants to see how things play out. Still, the native New Yorker enjoys playing for the Mets, and in August sounded sure he'd be back. He holds a player option worth $6.75 million, which is $1 million less than he made in 2023. Ottavino's numbers dipped, but they remain respectable, and he should be considered high leverage option. And and as I talked about, he actually opted out of his contract actually, and that's why sometimes I'll see him on SNY for baseball night in New York with Sal and the crew. All right, so David Peterson throwing with more conviction instead of nibbling around the zone helped Peterson down the stretch. He had a 8.08 ERA through mid-May at a time when the Mets seriously needed him. But he pitched considerably better after returning from AAA. Some club officials maintain belief in Peterson, age 28, as a starter, but he also flashed some intrigue in the bullpen. He's arbitration eligible for the first time. Tyler McGill, similar to Peterson's, better sequencing and more strikes contributed to a strong finish when a disappointing year for McGill. McGill, age 28, remains a year away from arbitration. Like Peterson, McGill has minor league options remaining and could factor into the roster as a starter or reliever. Drew Smith, club officials hoped Smith would take a considerable step in 2023, but he regressed as evidenced by a higher walk rate. In a down year, he provided mostly league average numbers. Smith has minor league options remaining and won't be a free agent until 2025. Trevor Gott, some within the Mets really liked what they saw in Gott, whom New York acquired in June from the Seattle Mariners. While running the Brewers, Stearns acquired Gott, and the 31-year-old fared well in Milwaukee, so there's some familiarity with him. He's arbitration eligible. Omar Narvaez said in August that it probably makes the most sense to him to return to New York. He holds a player option for $7 million, which is a high figure for someone entrenched as a backup to Alvarez. Also, Narvaez didn't play steadily until September and had a rough year offensively, so his options might be limited in free agency. He had his best defensive years in Milwaukee under Stearns, who had once traded for him. Tier 3 recent prospects with something to prove. We got Brett Baty, third baseman. The Mets cleared the runway at third base for Baty early, but he failed to capitalize on the opportunity. In 389 plate appearances, he posted just a 598 OPS. Because he wasn't quick to make adjustments. Baty also struggled in the field. Thus, New York enters the offseason with a major question about what to do at third base. Mark Vientos, who we just talked about. In September, Vientos received steady time, a first for him in the majors, and he hit 6 home runs with a 739 OPS in 93 plate appearances. It was a step forward, but Vientos remains out of a position, and the right-handed batter has yet to show he can handle major league lefties. Ronnie Mauricio, aside from Alvarez, Mauricio showed the most promise among the Mets' former top prospects, various evaluators said. Some in the industry view Mauricio as a legitimate offensive weapon, but he needs to cut down on his chase rate. His future seems to be on the infield, and he can help as a utility type. Stearns and the Mets love flexibility, even if he doesn't have a permanent home. Jose Buto. Some Mets officials believe that Buto seems destined for a bullpen role. As a spot starter, the 25-year-old pitched decently and showed some signs of figuring things out. The Mets can probably do worse than him trying out for a swing man role. He could also be of interest to other teams as a trade candidate. Tier 4, rising young talent. Luis Angel Acuna, arguably the Mets' best prospect. Acuna profiles as an exciting player and someone that scouts say will be an above average big leaguer because of his power speed combination. With Binghamton, Acuna played 25 games at shortstop and 12 at second base. He can play also center field after spending the entire season at Double A major league debut at some point next year seems possible. Tier 5, potentially useful depth. Joey Lucchesi performed well as a depth starter, and some within the Mets expressed interest in keeping the 30-year-old in the same role since he will have a minor league option left. He's again arbitration eligible. Grant Hartwick, the homegrown reliever, flashed some potential early but struggled down the stretch. John Curtis, the Mets entered the second season thinking Curtis could be a dark horse for them, but he was optioned in late April and never stuck around for long after that. He ended the season with a loose body in his throwing elbow. Curtis has battled back from Tommy John surgery twice and shown some promise in the majors at previous stops. He will be out of minor league options. Stearns acquired him for the Brewers in 2021. Bryce Montes de Oca. He's 6'7", can hit 102 miles per hour and holds minor league options, but he missed all of 2023 because of Tommy John surgery. Josh Walker, um, left-handed pitcher, a right oblique strain prematurely ended Walker's season as a rookie. He had an 8.10 ERA in 14 appearances. After impressing with AAA Syracuse, Walker, who will be 29 in December, has options remaining. Jeff Brigham, um, teased being a high leverage option early in the season, but faded over time with his command betraying him, leading to a soaring home run rate. He's eligible for arbitration with a minor league option remaining. Sam Coonrod, if not for an injury, Coonrod might have made the Mets roster out of spring training. The Mets liked his upside, but he's always had trouble with command, and that continued in limited action. He will be out of minor league options, making his roster spot tenuous. Sean Reed Foley. In September, Reed Foley impressed some Mets officials with 16 strikeouts in 7 and 2/3 innings. out of the bullpen, but a lat injury ended his season early. The problem is he doesn't have minor league options left, so his spot is in jeopardy. Phil Bickford, the Mets added Bickford at the trade deadline. Bickford, because they needed someone to capably fill in some innings. He logged 25 appearances with mostly average results. He's another player who has familiarity with Stearns from his time with the Brewers. He can't be optioned to the minors. Reed Garrett, two bad outings and blowout losses ruined Garrett's stats. He's allowed 11 runs, um, over 9 appearances and 14 innings with New York. The 30-year-old made some repertoire changes down the stretch. Using more of a two-seamer, he will have one minor league option remaining. And of course, DJ Stewart, who helped the Mets in September with some home runs. For a brief period, Stewart provided some of the only good highlights in the second half of the Mets. And yes, he did make some spectacular catches too, man. I, I, I'm glad that they brought him back for a 1 year contract. That's not bad though. So he didn't sustain his success throughout September, though. He might be worth keeping on the roster as outfield depth, especially since he provides a bit of pop from the left side. He would be arbitration eligible. And yeah, yeah, I already talked about Daniel Vogelback and Luis Guillorme being being non-tendered already. I'm not gonna really. That's crazy though. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. So Vogelback won't cost a lot. So the Mets may keep him on the roster. Nah, that's not gonna happen. But that wouldn't mean he'd continue to be the main DH. The veteran left-handed batter ended up with a 742 OPS. His on-base skills tend to tantalize teams. Some organization would surely be interested in a minor trade. But he was inconsistent with a couple of poor months in May and June as the season went sideways. Stearns had him in Milwaukee in 2020 and 2021. Of course, Billy Epper traded for him and liked the skills. He's well liked by his peers in the clubhouse too. Vogelback's playing time evaporated after the trade deadline, though. Um, Luis Guillorme, as we talked about earlier, Guillorme's offense has seriously lagged since the second half of 2022. He's a gifted defender, but continues to battle injuries. Um, Danny Mendick, of course, another utility player who some of the people on YouTube and of course the guy from a New York Post podcast was complaining about him. Organizations like the Mets love carrying players like Mendick because he can essentially play every position outside of pitcher and catcher. However, with the Mets, he never saw much action and produced his worst offensive season. He would be arbitration arbitration eligible. Tier 6 on Shake Your Ground, Tim LeCastro on a team with legitimate playoff aspirations. LeCastro serves as an expert base stealer. Thus, he should have opportunities as long as he can provide elite speed. However, he's sort of a luxury to have. The Mets may look to make more use of the spot after getting healthy and seeing action in a part-time role. 50 plate appearances. LeCastro posted a respectable 759 OPS in the second half. Eliezer Hernandez, acquired from the Marlins last winter. Hernandez dealt with injuries starting in the spring, and a right pectoral strain ended his season before he could make his New York debut. he does have he does not have minor league options remaining. Rafael Ortega, few benefited more from the Mets son at the trade deadline than Ortega, but despite a solid amount of playing time, the veteran left-handed batter struggled against right-handed pitching. Ortega provided a couple of clutch moments and walked at a high rate, but didn't produce enough to seriously distinguish himself. Jonathan Arauz, over the last few years, Arauz has played only sparingly in the majors and hasn't hit. With the Mets, those trends continue. He offers versatility on the infield. Um, and I don't think anybody cares about Michael Perez. You know what I'm saying? Because the 31-year-old, known for defense, will be out of minor league options. For catching depth, Tomas Nido remains in the organization. Anthony Kay. Kay's tale of finally pitching for the organization that twice drafted him was a uh, fun story, but it may not last long. He does not have minor league options remaining. Peyton Battenfield. The Mets claimed Battenfield, age 26, off waivers in early September, but he never pitched for New York in a major league game. He has multiple minor league options remaining, but his numbers in AAA, 5.18 ERA after posing a 3.63 ERA there last year, took a bad turn. Vinny Natoli pitched in only 3 games for New York. He will not have a minor league option. He will not have minor league options remaining. Danny Reyes, another pitcher who will be out of minor league options. Reyes pitched decently in April, but struggled in all but one of his appearances in the second half. And of course, Tier 7 free agent Carlos Cookie Carrasco. While Carrasco has said he'd like to continue pitching, a dreadful season at 36 years old should limit his options. He went unclaimed after the Mets put him on waivers. Carrasco has had a great career, but the pitch clock appeared to be a tough adjustment for him. All right. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much what the shakeup is, man, during the off season. Um, that's pretty much what the shakeup is, though. So Yeah, so let's wrap this up, man. Um, yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. All right, we're gonna wrap this up right here, man. Let's get into the very, 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 very last thing. Um, very last thing, which is stream choices on the go. Stream choices on the go, man. Let's get into it right here, right now. Yes. Be sure to follow Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast on Threads and Instagram, alongside with Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast, my review show platform, and of course, Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue podcast. That's also on there, as well as myself, G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York. And turn your notifications so you can know when each of the episodes will be dropping and when I'll be on Instagram live recording podcast episodes. All right. And also, for the most part, hang on a second here. Yes, for the most part, you can also make sure you go to my link tree in the bio where it says linktree/excellent fun vibrant talks pod. You're gonna see a whole list of audio streaming platforms um, where you can listen and catch up on the episodes in case you miss any of them whatsoever. Don't worry, I got you back on where you can listen to on every streaming platform. So let's get into it right here. Starting with Odyssey, um, Audible, Amazon Music, Breaker, Bullhorn FM, Castbox FM, Deezer, Listen Notes, Moon FM Podcast, Player FM, Pocket Cast, Podfriend, Podhound, Podopolo, Podorama, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Podverse, Podcast Guru, Podvine, Snipped, Spotify for podcasters, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, the number one app for music, radio, and podcasts where you can listen to for free. You don't need a debit card or credit card to download iHeartRadio or any of the stream platforms that I just mentioned. All right. So be sure to follow and subscribe on iHeartRadio and also do the same with the sports YouTube channel page, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast, the Sports Edition Show sports channel page. Make sure you grab that subscribe button for me alongside with alerts so you can be notified on when each of the podcast episode recordings and for more live video episodes. And of course, the recordings includes the day, the date, the month, and the time to be on the air via live stream. Also, leave a like and a comment along with the episode topics in sports that we just talked about, and and yes, share the episodes, share the videos, download the episodes, and you can also not only download the episodes of your favorite sports topics, you can also um add the sports podcast right here onto your playlist, which is your Spotify. Spotify for podcasters. You have Odyssey. You have Audible. You have Castbox FM, Capsule, um, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and other streaming platforms where you get your podcast. So, um, yes. Tell a friend to another friend. Spread the word. Word of mouth is important, and of course, be sure to share my link tree link along with your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, friends, the people you are cool with from work, and wherever else you meet new people. All right. All right. Before I wrap up here, man, let me just make sure I cover the bases on what I'm saying. All right. If you like to support the sports podcast platform that I'm doing, and along with other platforms of my podcast shows that I do, you can do that. You're more than welcome to do that. My Cash App, which is $ G Money Stacks 555. Hold on. Yes, my Cash App, $ G Money Stacks 555. Um, and the other option is my PayPal, which is G Money Stacks, Queens, New York. Any amount of money that you'd like to throw in a tip for moral support will be appreciated. You don't need a lot of money to show moral support to a fellow podcaster host like myself. Um, it could be $1, it could be $5, it could be $10. Whatever amount you desire and choose will be appreciated. All right. So there you have it right there. And I want to throw in something actually. Um, I want to throw in something. Let me see. I'll throw in something actually. Hold on a second here. Just give me a moment here. Sorry about that. I wanted to throw in something actually for all you listeners at home. If you like to chime in on the sports topics in this episode and everywhere else, you not only can comment on the Instagram podcast show page, but you can also follow my Discord. My Discord is which is the same as the YouTube channel, which is G Money Stacks 555. Plain and simple. You can also message me about anything sports related. You can also message me about how your day is going, work, and everything else in between. It could mental health. It could be pertaining to, music like hip hop, rap, R&B, whatever music genre you listen to, or whatever, and also it could be about the movies and TV shows and stuff that you like and probably don't like. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's Discord at G Money Stacks 555. All right. So there you have it right there, man. Wanted to throw that in there before I wrap up here. So that's gonna do it for me, man. I'm your man G Money Stacks, aka the Gregory. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in to the 65th episode of the sports platform Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast. All right. And of course we did talk about the battle for the third base and catcher positions. So most likely the moral of the story is that Francisco Alvarez won the catcher position already. Um, and he has backup on the catching position with Omar Narvaez. And of course, we'll see what happens with the third base position in the future and stuff. So I will be touching base on that one, and along with everything that's going on in the off season and all that great stuff right there in the future episodes. And remember, the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. If you want something, you have to work hard and earn it. It's not going to be given to you on a silver platter. You know what I'm saying? New York wasn't built in a fucking day, all right? It takes time. You have to trust the process and everything else in between, all right? And also, um, you want to look for something that clicks to you on a consistency basis. Of course, be sure to be on your P's and Q's creatively, mentally, physically, and spiritually, alongside of having confidence, following your heart, following your goals and dreams, and everything else in between. Don't worry about other people, including your parents, that don't support your career choices and all that great stuff. Um, it's all about you, not your parents. All right, and of course, like I said, be on your P's and Q's. That gets you into your zone alongside tunnel vision. Hang on one second. Yes, like I said, man, do things that work for you, that gets you into your zone creatively, mentally, physically, and spiritually, that gets you into your zone on a consistency basis, confidence, and everything else in between, man. All right, I'm up out of here. I'll see y'all next time in the next episode in a couple of minutes. If not, probably the next day. All right. So I'm out of here. Peace and one love. And of course, enjoy the rest of your weekend, the rest of your day, and the rest of your night.